everybody. It is Gary with Shatterproof, the Auto Glass podcast. And everybody has been talking about this. It's probably the biggest news in the industry, although our industry news, it seems like it's buried in the headlines, but certainly the Independent Glass Association, we've been getting a lot of members and non-members contacting us saying, hey, what's this all about? What's the Safelite settlement? What does it entail? And many of you know, we have put out a video, a deep dive into it. It's about, I don't know, I think it's about 14 to 17 minutes that gives you just a good generalization of what happened, and we'll make sure that link and everything's down below. But today, we want to get everybody involved from the standpoint of how can your shop stand out after this settlement, and how can you use this to your advantage in your marketplace, not just now, but ongoing. And today we've got Sarah Seymour, and many of you have heard her. We also covered her live broadcast that was on her local radio station where she is an advertiser. She advertises in her community. So we're hoping that some of you will be picking up on the things we talk about today. She is with Seminole Auto Glass. She is in the greater Tallahassee, Florida area. And if you know anything about Florida, they have been beat up the last 3 to 4 years. So we're going to get into that. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
And again, congrats on that big win. Everybody still talks about that, especially with the tool you used and how you pulled that out. So that's the stuff that legends are made of. I think that's what they say. So
yeah, I kind of pulled that one out of the hat there. It was a long shot. I didn't realize that I was going to be the only one using that system, which was like, okay, great. Now I'm really the underdog. But I went in and had with it and came out. So yeah. But I'm still raving about it because it was a lot of fun and it was different. And I like to pat myself on the back a little bit for it.
No, absolutely. And that's the big thing is a lot of people will talk about the Auto Glass Olympics in general, just whether it's hard to get to or should they do it or it's not real life. And there's a lot of arguments in there, but when you get there and you're in front of people and you're in that big convention center with those halide lights above you, things change quickly. And it is worse than a customer standing over your shoulder. Just, what are you doing? I've had this car for 18 years. And you're like, go away. So yeah, no, I mean, congratulations on that. That's something that to be very proud of.
Thank you. Yeah. More people should do it.
So let's just get right into this. So if you've been living under a rock the last couple of weeks, this Safelite settlement, and first I want to put this out at the top, just for all the great legal reasons. Safelite does have lawyers. Lawyers do exist in this world. We see how they operate in today's day and age. So I want everybody to know that Safelite has denied all wrongdoing, and they maintain that the settlement was reached to avoid prolonged litigation costs. And they wanted to emphasize as well that the settlement was not an admission of liability. So everything that we're talking about here is all alleged. And if you'd like, you can definitely go and read any or all of this case information the IGA has put together up on our website. www.iga.org/Safelite settlement. And you can go for yourself and read this entire thing and see for yourself exactly what was alleged, how the settlement took place, what the terms of the settlement were, and then draw your own conclusions. So we're asking you as the viewer to do that. Or go check out that deep dive, because again, that deep dive is going to give you that information that kind of just puts it in a nice little package for you. So with that out of the way, this alleged behavior was on two things. And we'll start with the most recent one, which was COVID-19. And I know this was big for shops and the community or just our atmosphere back then. We didn't want somebody touching our steering wheel and getting in our car and then all of a sudden, oh no, we've got COVID, or whatever the case was. So glass shops were like, we'll disinfect, we'll use these wipes, we'll do these things. And some insurance companies did allow a disinfectant charge. So maybe share with yourself, like, how did Seminole Auto Glass handle this during COVID-19?
Yeah, it's funny that we're bringing this up because we did a commercial immediately after COVID happened, and we geared it towards that we use our gloves, we sanitize our car, our tools, and we wear a mask if needed. All of those things. I don't remember exactly how I worded my commercial, but I did a radio commercial letting our customers know that we're going to take care of your car. We did not charge a sanitation fee. We never added an extra disposal or disinfectant fee or any of that stuff. I heard later down the road, you're leaving money on the table. You should have done that. You know, if you're doing it, well, we were doing it before, you know what I mean? So why should I charge for it now?
Right.
If we're going to go around the customer steering wheel with a scrub anyway, why should we all of a sudden charge for it? So we never charged for that. But I did do a broadcast to our customers, letting them know that, you know, we're going to do whatever it takes to keep you safe during this time and all of that. It was a big deal around here.
Interesting. And I know too, that just in general, I know a lot of shops will recall this point in history back to the days when VIN etching was allowed on glass. So that was a big deal. Back in the day, you used to buy a car at a dealership, and on your side glass, they'd VIN etch your VIN. Yes. And of course, you could get insurance to pay for that. Then all of a sudden, everybody had VIN etch. Whoa, what happened? So I
forgot about that.
Yeah. So now, fast forward, we've got COVID. And so the alleged claim by the whistleblower is after analysis of inventory of these special cleaning pads that they were supposed to use, they found out that, well, they had X number of jobs. So if you take those jobs and you subtract the number of cleaning pads, your inventory should be 0 for the number that you said you charge for. And well, it looks like, allegedly, according to the case that the state of California and the state of Illinois brought, is maybe that wasn't the case, that they weren't actually performing it, because how could you perform the service if that packet is still there that was supposed to go to that claim?
Inventory
yeah, the inventory is a little off. And that's just on the heels now as we start to go back in time. The other alleged practice had to do with moldings. And again, this was back to their invoicing system. If you just read it, one side saying you knew the fraud was going on, you did nothing about it. One side saying, well, maybe there was fraud, or maybe there wasn't fraud, or maybe there was a technical glitch. We're just not really sure. There's this guy and this person, and maybe. So at the end of the day, they were charging for a part that, as a glass shop, you have to put on your invoice to EDI or send to the network. And they were using something that wasn't quite that part. Similar part, but it wasn't the part. And that's the alleged behavior. So we know if any one of us would have done that, and they would have caught on to it, the next thing you know, you're in not just a state court, but you're in a federal court now with a RICO charge, because that's what the insurance companies tend to do, is put RICO on. And then, you explain yourself later. And that was the tactic they used in Florida with a lot of Florida shops. So now that we're caught up on this and we're all angry about it, because we're all kind of laughing going, wait, $31 million, but the alleged amount is into the hundreds of millions of dollars going back, I believe it was 20 years. So if this was the case, why is the amount so low, and where are all the other lawsuits?
Yeah.
I think that's where we're really caught up. So just real quick, in your market, what are the things that Seminole Auto Glass does that you stand out from let's say a Safelite or an Auto Glass Now, or the competitors that you have in your market space?
Well, we are absolutely local. We've been in business for 18 years now. And from the very beginning, it was just my husband and I, and we got to know the community. We went to school here. We grew up here. So from the very beginning, building accounts and reputations with people that we knew, and then advertising also. you've got to get your name out there, and you have to let people know who you are and what you do and how you do it. So from the very beginning, Larry named the business Seminole Auto Glass. That was by far the first best choice made, because we're right here in Tallahassee and everybody knows Seminole, Florida State, FSU, Florida State Seminoles, Seminole Auto Glass. So it starts with branding first and foremost at the very beginning. But then once your community knows who you are and they trust you, then they're going to continue to use you. And so that's what we've done, is we've just grown based on that. People knowing us from around the community. We do a lot of sponsorships too, like just locally, whether it's, the sheriff's department, baseball, softball team, or we've got a banner out at Florida High, which is another Seminole school. So we try to put that top of mind awareness out there so that people see us more than they see them. And they know that they recognize us as being their locals. So that's just how we have branded and marketed from the very beginning.
Yeah, so the power of a small business is your involvement in your community. And through that involvement, you've built a high level of trust in the community. So not just to consumers, but to businesses, and that sponsorship you had mentioned earlier before we went on air, your continuation of that repetitive nature of advertising on the radio and in other outlets, that is what keeps you busy year round. And that's also what brings your referrals in. And branding is the biggest thing. But when something like this happens to another company that's nationwide, that we all know their jingle and their brand, now all of a sudden consumers will think twice and go, well, wait a minute, why am I going to go to this national brand when I've got this trusted local source here? Because they know about it, because you've put it out there. So you work, I would assume you work tirelessly every week to make sure your brand keeps a high level of reputation. And I see that with your Google reviews and whatnot. So, which again, that's another point that we'll bring up here a little bit later is, you have to have the 360, the full circle of your brand hitting key points for marketing. So how have you changed your message perhaps to first-time callers to your company this week that are questioning your services? Have you added anything new that has to do with like the settlement or them considering going elsewhere?
Well, we deal with that quite often. We have quite often, people call and wonder, well, they don't wonder who we are. They call us and say, I would rather use you instead of Safelite, because they've had, this problem with Safelite or that problem with Safelite. And I haven't had anybody call and address the settlement directly to me quite yet, but I'm waiting for that. Basically, I try to educate our customers from the very beginning about who Safelite is and about that third-party administrator, Safelite Solutions, first and foremost, because that's really who we're up against, is Safelite Solutions, the ones that are steering the jobs and kind of taking the information from the very beginning. So I have to notify the customers, yes, we're going to call Geico, but we're actually going to be talking to Safelite Solutions. And then I preemptively let them know what the script is going to say. They're going to ask you these questions, and you'll need to provide this information. And then they'll say this, but this is our response. So I kind of walk them through how that process is going to be. So over the years, we've adapted to working with and working around Safelite. I try not to mention them as much as possible, because I try to make it more about our business than theirs. But at the same time, I'm going to glorify this. I mean, people need to know about this. Consumers need to know about this. This isn't something that we created. This is something that they did. And now we have found out about it. And it's kind of like when a judge gets arrested, everybody's like, oh gosh, that's a big deal. Well, this is a big deal. And they do need to be addressed on this. So I want to broadcast it, but I also don't want to cast it negative, or I don't want us to look negative or like we are, nagging about it. So I try to highlight it, make it known, but then bring it back to the fact that we can take better care.
one of the things that I noticed just in general, and it absolutely deserves a little cue up here. It's beautiful. It is a website finally that I can give high praise to, because those points that you just mentioned align with your elevator pitch, basically what you just gave me, which is you're setting yourself out. You're saying you've been in business since 2006. Here's what we're committed to. And oh, by the way, here's how things get done. This is what we're going to do. And these are the services we provide. You lay it all out in a very nice platform. So congratulations again on that, because you're doing everything right. Everything a shop should be doing is exactly what you portray here. And it's that walk the walk, talk the talk attitude, not fake it till you make it, but literally putting your heart on your sleeve and putting it out here. And there's so many shops in our industry that are faking it till they make it. And sadly, it doesn't work out so well, because it allows somebody like a larger national competitor to capitalize on that, to get you to change your mind when you're maybe reporting an insurance claim. And when I say change your mind, it's not in the fact that they're directly steering you. They're indirectly saying things that cast doubt to the insured that, oh, well, maybe I should be going with a shop that does exactly what you've put here on the screen. I mean, this is amazing stuff. Talk about real quick how important your website is to your business.
Oh, we recently revamped it actually in 2024, I believe. My buddy JP here locally in Tallahassee, we worked very closely with him on that. We had a local photographer come in and take some shots of all of that. We need to update a lot of those pictures. Some of those are quite old, but you get the gist. So we wanted it to be like what you see, very informative, and JP knows what he's doing. So I've got to give the kudos to him on that. But we wanted it to be representative of us. And I think that it is. I mean, if you were to come to my shop, you would see what you see there. And
no, absolutely. I mean, I would say that from the minute, whether you show up at my house or I walk into your shop, I'm already comfortable. I feel at ease. I don't think there's any shenanigans going on. And I feel you're putting my vehicle back to it's the condition that and I know a lot of people love their cars. I bring this up from time to time on podcasts. People are like, oh, I love my baby. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to make sure your baby's fine. A lot of shops don't have this. They have a WordPress site, or they've spent some money, or even worse, they've hired one of those SEO marketing companies where your website is co-opted into their big giant cog, and you're just lost in it. And this though right here, trust Seminole Auto Glass for, and this is perfect, because you're getting to the point here where here is somebody who you can't trust anymore. They're big and they're national, but trust local, and using strong action words like trust and adjectives like this, that they say, here's what we're doing in this. That's perfect. And every glass shop should take a look at your website and go, how can I align my values and my participation in the community so that I reflect that when people see my brand. Now cost wise, this isn't cheap, right? I mean, you have to spend some money on advertising on your website, sponsorships.
Absolutely.
I don't know how much is sponsoring, like, let's say a baseball team cost.
It depends on, like, if it's one of the local high schools or something and you put a sign out on their field, it might cost you like $400 to get the sign made. And then it's out there for the year and it's behind the players. And so it's like, oh, what am I seeing? Oh, whenever that crack happened in my windshield, wait a minute. I think I saw Seminole behind that, and you don't even realize it, but that kind of, subliminal messaging, if you will, just having that banner back there. So it might have cost $400. If it gets me one job, it probably paid for itself. My radio is a little bit different. That, varies from time to time. But I wanted to bring something up. You mentioned about fake it till you make it. And I'm glad you brought that up, because you cannot do that in this industry. I'm sorry, but you can't. We have seen time and time again.
I don't know. I've seen some.
I have seen time and time again these fly-by-night companies, whether it be, I'm not going to name any names, but whether it be the door-to-doors or whatnot, that come into town, and a lot of times it'll be after a hurricane, and they'll come into town and they'll do a lot of windshields, and then they leave. And then 6 months later, after the first bad rainstorm again, what's happening? Their windshields are leaking. Where did that company go? Can't find them anymore. So, yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So you cannot fake it till you make it in this business, and you have to have that, because if you try, it's going to come back to bite you, and that's how you end up failing. And your customers are going, the ones that trust you and the ones that have been to you and you've provided that good service to, they're going to do a Google review on their own. They're going to tell a friend on their own. Or if they need us again, they're going to come back to you. So that's what you want from the very beginning. And then when things like this happen, you can capitalize on them and say, not, I told you so, but we're still here and you can still trust us. We haven't been doing these things. So,
right.
But anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up.
Oh, no, and that's a good point. And just going down this rabbit hole, Florida, if you're listening or watching out there, Florida has had its own unique set of operating protocols for, I'd say, the last 15 years. In that Florida, up until recently, and that would be like 3 years ago, glass shops could litigate right out of the gate for short payment. And well, how does it make sense for a glass shop to litigate? Well, lots of jobs. So how do you get lots of jobs? You hire unscrupulous sales companies that have these teams of people that sell anything from solar panels to fancy water filtration systems to now auto glass. They're going door to door. They're going vehicle to vehicle. They're at car washes, grocery stores, you name it. And they're just there to collect claims. And then the claims are fulfilled by, to your point, they're here today, gone tomorrow. They're flash in the pan because they keep changing company names for the purposes of the litigation and the lawsuits. But also at the same time, they get enough money, they go away because they know that they can't have that money clawed back as easily if they were a fly by night or go away. So Florida used to have this reputation for at least 20 to 30,000 different types of claims in various courts throughout Florida every year for short payment being lodged against insurance carriers. And it got to the point where there was even legislation that came up year after year from, I want to say, like 2017 through really 2020, where the glass shops that were part of that fought that off, but it left all these smaller glass shops in disarray because once DeSantis signed two key pieces of law. One, they took away your right to have the assignment of benefits, which I don't believe should ever be a thing, but we're seeing it more and more from state to state. And the second one was, part of it was, okay, and now here's what you can bill. Essentially, here's the parameters that an insurance company that reports their new policies to the Florida Farm Bureau, which is interesting that your farm side handles your insurance. It is your insurance division. But now I, as like Geico, for instance, can put right in the policy, 55% off nags, $40 labor, blah, blah, blah. And that's it. So you as the glass shop have to accept that, or the insured has to accept that, because if your glass shop charges more than that, there's nobody to sue other than now the insured. You can't go out. No glass shop wants to sue their insured.
No.
That I know of. So that's the unique part about Florida that a lot of people don't realize. It was really a good thing for a long time to have, because it gave you easy access in those cases where you were legitimately not getting paid market rates, prevailing cost or prevailing rates. Mm-hmm. How did that affect you when that all happened?
It was an adjustment. I mean, obviously there's only I still disagree with the rates that they are offering. So I don't send my invoices for that amount still to this day. If they're going to short pay me, they're going to short pay me. So be it. But we're still kind of working through a lot of the billing aspects of that since those changes. But on the back end, I'm never going to sue a customer. So that's never going to go anywhere. But if I don't have an assignment of benefits or a leg to stand on, then right now I'm just still gathering my evidence. You know what I mean? I'm just hoping that maybe someday that something will change and that they won't be able to put that into law. I know you've told me this in the past. It is already what's done is pretty much done. It's going to be written into law as far as their rates into the policy within the next year. But I hope that's not the case. I wish there was something that we could do with the insurance commission. I hate their language that they use when calling in the claims. I hate how, like when you call State Farm and they say, we need a one-word yes or no. Oh my gosh, if that's not the biggest mess you've ever heard, it's like, you ever heard, we have freedom of speech, people, don't tell me one word yes or no. But anyway, so I don't know. It didn't really, it changed because I can't submit those short pays, but at the same time, like I said, we just continue to keep doing what we're doing. And that's all we can do. And
did your community see a drastic decrease in the number of solicitors door to door or otherwise parking?
Yes.
So the law did work to curtail that to a vast degree, but it also started putting things in reverse because it took away your rights, as you put it, to justly go to a court of law and say, in my community and for how I acquire and what fair market is here, because fair market in Tallahassee is going to be different than fair market in Orlando, Jacksonville, Miami, you name it, anywhere in between. Everything's different for the market. Your ability, like there are some shops that are in between these markets that have to pay differently for the acquisition of their glass and products and whatnot. And they also have a larger geographic area to service or drive, and they don't always get paid a different market rate. Back 20 years ago, A, B, C, D markets were a big thing. And it's kind of interesting that slowly over time, this kind of disintegrated and no one really argued it. And and to that point, a lot of shops did take advantage of it by getting a PO box or putting their sign on top of Joe's garage and giving Joe $200 a month to basically have an address there. But it gets back to, okay, when you take away two parts of this, one, the right of the insured to sue, and also the right for the glass shop to sue or otherwise get some sort of arbitration, it's bad. It's bad for the economy in your area. And now what we're seeing is it's almost like, well, we're not allowed to get away with these things, but is there going to be a judgment day for a big company like this that allegedly did these practices? Will there be a reckoning? And
I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, because like what you were saying, the $31 million that went to Brian Williams, well, it didn't all go to him, but a big chunk of it went to him. And I certainly hope that it would be awesome if he created something with that, like another independent glass call center that handled auto glass claims.
I can tell you, we haven't put a lot of effort in, but we've put some effort into tracking Brian down just to even get a no comment from him. I'm pretty sure at this point there's an island or somewhere very distant that he is currently visiting for a while.
Yes.
So I got into the industry when I was little. My dad always took me to work. We are a windshield replacement company. A lot of people don't realize, but a windshield is a big part of the structural integrity of the vehicle. There's a big problem that we have in our industry, which is the adhesive can separate from the pinch weld, or it could also separate from the glass. So I create a lot of safety videos on TikToks, YouTube, as well as making a lot of new posts on Pinterest. I really like making sure that all my customers are up to date with the knowledge that we possess. We want to make sure we share it with them. One of the things I love about Sika products is that they have so many different variations of chemicals that you can use to properly apply towards the body and the glass to make sure you have a proper installation. They back up everything. They have crash tests. They have safety videos. They have so much information that actually is there for consumers and as well as technicians like ourselves. We have always used Sika products, and now we're using the best product out there, which is Sika Ultimate. It is a 30-minute minimum driver wait time adhesive. The good thing about it, it's primerless to glass. You apply it onto the body or you apply it onto the glass, and you're able to install it right away. You just wait your 30 minutes for it to cure, and then you're able to release the vehicle to the customer. I stay strictly to the Sika products because I know it's been tested and certified. To anyone, to everyone, whether you're a small family business or a large corporation that's international, I would strongly recommend Sika Ultimate to them.
But we know how these things unravel. We know that lawyers that love things like class action suits are probably looking this over going, well, we got some things that meet our criteria. Lots of time. The alleged acts happen over that said time. And just by looking at some of the numbers in there, you're talking 100 million or more that could have been allegedly overbilled, defrauded, whatever. Again, all allegedly. So, hey, let's go dip a little bit, because if $31 million is where it stands that they had to use to settle, and there's no other action compared to what they billed and made allegedly, that is a payday. What business wouldn't want to exchange a little slap on the wrist for that? And that's kind of what's wrong. It's not kind of what's wrong. It is what's wrong with our current day judicial system and the laws that we put in place from state to state. And if you're also following the NCOIL, which is also, they got Safelite in bed with them. They've got the NICB, which is, Florida's favorite go-to for the Insurance Crime Bureau. I mean, and when you start looking at the legislation, you're like, well, wait, this is all stacked in the favor of these large companies. They're representatives in insurance companies, and it's all for consumer benefit. But when you look at it, the language has nothing to do with consumer safety. They allege it, but they don't mention things like AGRIS and our standard in the industry. And they certainly don't include the financial constraints that small business have when they're thinking about it. Because if I was a big national corporation, I've got lots of cash flow. May not be positive, but I have lots of cash flow to keep my business open. I'm a small person in a community. You just said where your cash flow goes. So it's behind home plate. It's out left field. And sadly, you can't go take that out in left field and go to the bank and go, I need 30,000 this month. And they're going to go, sorry, that's your advertisement, Yeah. So it's interesting so Shop's probably saying, okay, you brought up at the beginning of this, how can we use this to our advantage? And one of the things that the IGA has provided for a while is things that like Sarah has on her website, but definitely things that would get the customer to think about it. For instance, we have this checklist, and I'll blow it up here a little bit so you can see. And it's kind of like, hey, before choosing an auto glass repair shop, use this checklist to make sure you're working with an honest and reputable company. And it highlights points. You can pick and choose the ones that you want on here, put it in your marketing, put it on your website, and things that red flags to watch out for, not providing a written estimate, avoid answering questions about parts or service. We've seen a lot of janky things on quotes where if you read the fine print, it says, we have the right to use like kind quality or aftermarket parts or things like that. That's where you start to go, well, wait a minute. Whatever you're going to use, just tell the customer what it is and let them decide. And two, the IGA on our website, we have great material for what's the difference between OEM, aftermarket, OEE. Why should I choose one over the other? We have a great mix of information that's up there. You don't have to be a member to get that information, but things like you're seeing here, members do have access to this marketing information they can use. Which that's a big deal, and it's very helpful. But again, it's just little things like that. What Sarah's done on her website, adding words like trust, making sure that your business is at or above what the national competitor offers. So if I'm Gary and I go to a national competitor, I'm looking at their website, I come to Sarah's, immediately I'm drawn to Sarah's community, hometown. Whereas the national competitors are sterile. They have to be more inviting to everybody. And that may not work for people in Tallahassee. Whereas Sarah's website, oh yeah, to your point, you've seen it, work for you, day in and day out. So these are just things that you can do. Definitely. The other thing is people are like, well, how do I get the customer to see things when it comes to like maybe the quote or whatnot? You know, first of all, we've had email for, I don't know how long, like decades now. So you can always send a PDF copy of it. I know a lot of people out there that can't emphasize this enough. I am not giving people a hard time on these groups for asking for part information and stuff like that. I'm giving you a hard time because you're not investing in the tools that your shop needs to succeed. Facebook, Instagram, those are not platforms to go, what is part this and what is this VIN and what is this and this and this. That is what a product made for our industry is for. And one is free. And I'm not even going to bring it up during this. I've decided that if you don't know what it is by now, just go to the IGA website. But the whole idea is you've got to use the tools that communicate to your customers in real time, and certainly get systems that do that. And I know, like, for instance, one of the systems that's out there right now, I'm just going to share this real quick. While you have the customer on the phone, you can actually share their work information, the claim, what it is they're getting, the price. They can see it via email or text. There's a lot of these different products out there offer things that may be similar or like that. But what's cool about it is you're already used to it. It's like just like ordering Uber Eats or ordering an Uber. You know, it goes from quote and you see the little driver to appointment to completed, your invoice. You can upload pictures, but this is engaging your customer to you. Because I'll tell you this, the big guys don't have things like this. And that is what puts them at a disadvantage, because this is personalized service. This means I can always, at any time of the day, come check my appointment, see my quote again, provide any information, pay for it, do all of those different things. And then it becomes a record of my job. It's just not in my glove box or thrown out or just another credit card statement for my deductible or whatever. So invest in tools that are gonna at least, again, put you on par with the big guys, but we want you to exceed that. What are the things that your shop does, Sarah, that, I mean, aside from your website, and I think you mentioned some of them during your service, like for instance, when the service is concluded, how do you talk with the customer about their service? Do you have any special programs for that, or what do you do?
Yeah, we go over everything with the customer once we're done, or if they're not there, then over the phone. And we have them sign off on the invoice, obviously, because you have to have that for insurance purposes. And then we give them a copy. And then all of that is on our work order / invoice as well. It's got our 24-hour aftercare instructions, goes over everything that we just talked to them about.
Yeah, and I know some shops, they'll leave behind a gift bag, and that gift bag, I don't mean it's like a Rolex watch or something from one of these award shows. It's things useful for your vehicle that are branded for the shop, so that it could be like if you're up in anywhere where it snows, which I guess is Florida now. It would be an ice scraper or things of that nature, pens or disinfectant cloths or things of that. You leave behind something that's like maybe $2 to $5 goes a long way. And it's amazing. Again, I don't see the big guys doing that. They get a little mirror hanger with.
I didn't even think about it. We do have air fresheners. I forgot about our air fresheners. We've got logo air fresheners that we try to give them out to everybody, but some people don't want the fragrance, so we give it to them and give them the option now. But yeah, I totally forgot about our air fresheners.
Here's an interesting thing about those. There's a shop that has 4 different flavors they'll let you pick from. So it's kind of another way to interact with the customer, because it's on their pre-arrival questionnaire. We typically leave behind an air scent as we clean up your car. Would you like none or these 3 other flavors? And this shop is like, you go look at their Google reviews, and they're like, the first thing people lead with is, I have a cool looking air freshener that doesn't disturb my sense of smell or whatever. And you're like, there you go. People wrote about it. It's the little things like that shops need to think about. But yeah. We'll never see Safelite do that. I don't think we'll ever see Glass America, Auto Glass Now. I know there's some franchise groups out there unless the franchise is going out of their way to do something, there's nothing corporate that I know of that they're doing for that leave behind. So this is what I'm getting at is independent glass shops. You are still in control of this industry should you choose to take the wheel and start driving the car. I think that's the biggest message here. Yeah. And these takeaways, just some final takeaways when we're looking at this. I believe this is another reason for independent glass shops in 2025 to get aligned with their voice, a single voice, and start from you might have to go back and clean out, do a little spring cleaning of your business and say, how can I align these things to take advantage of things like the settlement and some other things you're gonna hear in the coming weeks that now put your shop solely on the thoughts of those in your community for them to come back to. And again, it comes back down to that big word that was kind of blinking on your website, trust. So I'll leave it at that. Sarah, you have anything closing? Anything else you'd like to add?
Yes. No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the big spotlight, like you said, is that they've made a big boo-boo, and we can definitely capitalize on it because they are a big company, and we're the local independent ones that can still take care of everybody like we always have. But when something like this happens, just make light of their wrongdoing and let them know how right you can do. Put the trust in you and put the trust in your company, and then let them be on their merry way as far as they're wrong, what they've done wrong. But I'm excited to see what comes up in the future. I hope that there are some further repercussions on this or some further talks about this. And I hope that we can use it more to our benefit, smaller and locally, on the lower level. I don't know how much more we can, but I'm going to continue to think on it and, have some more talks about it.
No, absolutely. And one of the things too, I want to point out while we're all riding high and you're like, you fell down. They have PR departments. They have crisis management teams. If you want to bet your dollar on anything, one of the things that they're kind of coming up with right now is restoration campaigns for their brand. And if they're not thinking about that, somebody needs to get fired immediately. But somewhere in some weird business office park with the conference room blacked out, someone with a white Sharpie is on deals, flow charting out how they're going to get their brand back. And while they're doing it, making sure they marginalize or minimize you as an independent glass shop. And the other thing that they'll be quick to do is they're going to point out all of the things that independents may or may not do. And I suggest be on your best behavior. I'm not saying all glass shops do wrong things, but sometimes inadvertently there are things that happen. And I wouldn't say be worried about it, but at the same time, there's somebody in our industry that's fallen down. While they're down, this is an advantage to leap ahead of them. And I know some of you out there are wishing them death. And okay, that's your opinion. And I'm not saying that at all, but competition will foster this, and think smart and get the information to your customer base. Cause that's one of the things I keep hearing is like, oh, they're steering and things of that nature. You have to control your customer from that first point, that ad they see or whatever, right through them paying or the insurance paying. You can't let go of that process at any time.
Customer education is one of the biggest key points. Customer education from the very beginning, no matter how they've heard about you, how they got to you, no matter what their opinion already is. You need to let them know from the beginning, this is who we are, this is how this works, this is who you're going to be talking to, and be that, like I said, education from the get-go. Even if they think they know what's going to happen, or they call you and they say, I need a windshield and I know I need to call my insurance. It doesn't matter. You need to give them the layout, give them the rundown before anything else happens, so that they know and that they have you on their side already, or you are on their side already. I just continue doing what we've been doing. Like Gary said, just mind your P's and Q's, and utilize your resources. Keep track of everything too. I don't know how, I mean, because there's more to come.
Well, it's shops tend to, it just depends on your size. And I'm sure you feel the grind all day. You're up early, you're getting kids ready for school, you're taking care of the family, you're getting out the door, you're working all day, you always get those customers at the end of the day that tie you up. You've got meals in between that, you've got life, and life and business are two hard balances. And it's an amazing thing to be an entrepreneur, but it's also the biggest curse at the same time. It's that double-edged sword where it's just like, no, but at the same time, to your point, utilizing resources, and I can't continue to say enough about the Independent Glass Association and what they offer. There is a tab for consumers, and there is good information on this tab. One being that right to choose. If you click on that, there is a video you can link to, you can download this, that actually has a real life couple that talk about how their right to choose, they couldn't go to their shop, they were steered, all of this stuff. These are great things that you can use as examples for your customers. Put them on your website, refer them here, whatever it is. You have all of this available to you. And so if you're small and you don't have the resources to invent this stuff on your own, again, utilize what the IGA has. It's there for the industry.
Introducing AirPro Diagnostics' revolutionary calibration technology, Augie. AirPro Diagnostics' latest innovation is a game changer in forward-facing camera ADAS calibrations. Augie is a wireless compact device that allows you to calibrate vehicles anywhere. AirPro has created a theater-like environment to digitize and miniaturize static ADAS targets and present them to the forward-facing camera exactly as required by vehicle manufacturers. Find out how required calibrations can be simplified. Order your Augie today.
It's a not-for-profit. We're not a big giant corporation set up to do Tony Robbins style, like, hey, you're the auto glass guy, come on down, stuff like that.
No, you just help us all. You're just there to help us all the independent glass.
And the other thing I want to leave is Florida's not dead, and there are laws that will probably come back and swing. And right now is not, again, we thought this year could be a good launching point. We need to get over what's happening with tariffs and stuff first, because how that shakes out is how we can go back to legislators and lawmakers and say, well, this was great when it was this time and you were capitating prices through law, but look at how society's changed and there are tariffs, there's these things, supply chain disruption possible. You can't set these prices in stone. And Minnesota will continue to be a state we use when we talk to legislators and lawmakers, where we talk about pricing surveys and things of that nature, that these are things that could be done. And if you look at the business in Minnesota, they receive probably the best rates for fair and reasonable billing. And what I mean by fair is that they can pay their bills, have a margin that allows them to grow their business, allows them to send their technicians back to school for CEUs, more involvement with the Auto Glass Safety Council and the IGA. Those are all things that you got to make money on. And I don't know of any other industry in the world where it's written in law that says, Sarah can only get 55% off of this. Too bad, Sarah. If you're gonna, or you accept it or go on down the road. Where does that happen? That's odd.
No,
Collision repair doesn't have that. I've never seen that. Like your addendum on your binder would be 80 miles long. Like fender, $84. Blinker, $22. Like every part would be there. And then never mind like kind quality, aftermarket, OEM, salvage. We don't even deal with salvage in our industry yet, but those are all things that are there. It's crazy. It's a crazy industry.
It is. Yeah, no, but Florida is not dead. Not at all.
No,
and
not
I
at
am
all.
right here in Tallahassee. I have stomped around that Capitol many times. I did right before the laws got passed. And then unfortunately, my son got sick in 23 and I tried stomping around as much as I could, but it went way too far, too quick, and I wasn't able to stop it. But I know of several local senators and lobbyists and people around here. I've been to their houses and things like that. So I'm hoping that we can possibly get something back in front of them. And that's why I said, keep track of everything. We're not going, it's not going to, we're not dead. It's not done. You just got to keep your ducks in a row and keep track of everything, because when it does come back around, then you'll have that.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned Trey and Sarah Black in South Carolina. Also, do not worry there. I know South Carolina has a bill that's actually been brought on behalf of glass shops. I don't expect that to go very far unless there's more outreach on the language of it, because it looks like they're about to make the same mistake that happened in Connecticut many years ago, where Safelite successfully was able to reverse all of that. And I know New York and you got Oklahoma, they're just using the blueprint that it started in Florida, went to Kentucky. A lot of that came from Arizona. So it's this thing that's making its way around. And to Sarah's point, be ready. And not just be ready, but start laying that foundation now. Start becoming more involved and providing information. IGA.org/steering. Anything that has to do with short pay, late payment, OE authorization. We need you to keep putting that up there. And we do vet that out for you. We have gotten thousands upon thousands of dollars a week back for shops for short and late payments. But if you go online, you can see this. We point legislators and lawmakers to this part of the site to say, see, what other industry does this many shops with this many companies have problems getting paid on time? And one thing I want to leave everybody with when you talk about the spring cleaning, for the love of it, on your invoices, please put your expected payment time frame and the penalties for not getting paid, because we can help you, or any collection agency can help you recover late payment fees. There's nowhere in an insurance policy that says we will pay the provider when we feel like it. There are actually laws in your state that say for services rendered, if you put it on your invoices, there is an expectation of time to be paid. And right now we are seeing, since I want to say like August of last year, maybe even a little bit earlier, the average insurance payment time frame for non-network shops, these are people that do not agree to the network BS, is somewhere around 47 days right now. That's 47 days that somebody else is using your money instead of you. But we can't help you unless you don't put your terms on your invoice. The IGA has examples of that. That's free of charge. It's up on the website there. So definitely, go take a look at that. But these are all the things that we're asking shops to be prepared and dot their I's and cross their T's. So Sarah, thank you very much. I know you're busy, end of the day for you. I certainly appreciate it. We will be following your journey as you continue to talk about this. We thank you for your involvement, not only in your local community, but just with the industry at large, and for that killer win with the OptiAIM system. People
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. And I'm trying to be a voice in the industry. If there's anything I can do further, let me know. Reach out to me. I'm available. I always want to do more. That was why I got involved in IGA and also Florida Independent Glass Association as well here locally. And then going out and doing things like the recalibration competition and stuff like that. I want to be more involved. I want to make a difference in this industry, and I want to make it right. So, yeah.
Yep. Good deal. Well, thank you, everybody. This has been Gary and Sarah with Shatterproof, the Auto Glass Podcast. Tune in next time, where I'm sure we'll bring more live content. The AI stuff we just need from time to time. We don't have all the time in the world to sit here and record this and then edit and do a bunch of that stuff. Sometimes we need to get information to you really quick. If you don't like to see the AI people, just minimize your browser or whatever you need to do on your phone. Just listen to it, because it's about the content, not what you're seeing. I'm sure everybody's sick of seeing me and this backdrop and all this crap, but we want to get the information to you. So again, thank you very much. And Sarah, thank you.
I'm here today. Yeah, thank you.
It's Sarah for real. But don't worry, now that we have her voice and her likeness, we're going to have Sarah AI going forward. And I don't have to bug Sarah or ask Sarah to do anything other than just say, yeah, do you approve your head doing a weird twitch every now and then?
That's awesome.
And I close with a dad joke, but I'm absolutely horrible with dad jokes. So, and most of my jokes would tip the profanity scale, where I'd have more people going, nobody in your position should use the F word and do this. And it's like, okay, cut me some goddamn slack today. I don't know what to say. I'm just as tired as you are. So
I know, right?
Yeah. All
Well,
right,
we'll
everybody.
do this again. Have me back again. We'll chat again about something else.
Absolutely.
Good to see you.